This episode of I Am Salt Lake podcast is proudly sponsored by Jed's Barber Shop. With 3 locations, you have no reason to not always look your best. Go get a haircut, a beard trim, or even a straight razor shave. Jed's Barber Shop is open 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Saturday, 9 to 7, and Sunday, 12 to 5. Their newest location is located at 167 East, 900 South, right next to Randy's Records. They also have a location downtown at 212 South, 700 East, and up in Sugar House at 2153 East, 2100 South. No appointment is necessary. Just show up, get yourself a haircut. Maybe you have a last-minute date or a job interview. Jed's Barbershop is the place for you. Head on over to their website at jedsbarbershop.com for more information.
Showcasing local talent, professionals, and everyday people, making Salt Lake City what it is today. It's time for another episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast.
I want to welcome you out today to episode 303 of I Am Salt Lake podcast.
My name's Chrissy Hollifield, and you can find me on Twitter at Chrissy Tweets.
And my name's Chris Hollifield. Find me on Snapchat at I Am Salt Lake. Today on the podcast, we have a long overdue conversation with local Salt Lake City stand-up comedian Amerah Ames.
She is an amazing lady stand-up out here.
And like I said, long overdue. I mean, I should have had her on the podcast hundreds of episodes ago.
Yeah, I've been hinting at it for a while.
She's one of my favorite female comedians here in Salt Lake City, so it was great to get her on the show, find out her story, find out even what got her interested in stand-up comedy. You know what's interesting with bringing on so many different comedians from the area on the podcast, everybody has a different story behind what got him interested in doing stand-up.
Yeah.
Even though there's a few main places to do local comedy here, everybody has a different story.
A different reason to eventually get started. And yeah, it's amazing.
We're going to get into that here in just a minute, so hang tight for that. We've decided, however, to do another Q&A Ask Us Anything episode where you get to ask Chrissy or myself questions.
And we probably will answer them, yeah?
Absolutely. We did the last time we did it was for a 5-year anniversary episode.
Yeah.
So it was a handful of episodes ago. And a few people have kind of been hinting that maybe we should do another episode. So I decided, hey, what the heck? Why not? Let's do another one before the end of the year. But we need your questions to make this happen. We need questions about Salt Lake City. We need questions directed towards myself or Chrissy or both of us.
Yeah, get creative.
Email them in at hello@iamsaltlake.com. Again, the email address is hello@iamsaltlake.com. Hey, we all run into those events that we need a photographer. Maybe it's a family get-together. Maybe you need family holiday portraits. Or maybe you even have a work holiday party coming up.
Or an ugly sweater party.
An ugly sweater party. You need to get yourself a top-notch photographer for that event. And we want to invite you to check out the photography of local photographer Amanda DeWolf. You could check out all of her work by going to her website, amandakmemories.com. Again, it's Amanda K-A-Y, memories.com. All right, let's jump into that conversation that we had with Amerah Ames when she came over to our office, shared her story. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy. Where do you call home at? Where were you born and raised, Amerah?
Oh, where was I born? I was born in Las Vegas, actually. I lived there for like 8 years, and then I moved. I lived in Arizona for a second, like a year, and then I basically grew up here, though, about an hour north of here in Brigham City, Utah.
So you were born and raised pretty much. Well, not you were born in Vegas, but you were
raised in Utah.
Raised in
pretty
Utah.
Pretty much, yeah.
What brought you guys up here?
Say that again?
What brought you guys up here? Like, what brought your parents?
My mom decided to get married to someone she met on the internet.
Oh,
and that's fine. But I have no qualms anymore. But if my mom is listening to this, I'm very sorry. No, but yeah, it was just basically that. Like he was from here, so we ended up here. And they're not married anymore. But that's and now I'm just here. So I just stayed here. But I'd rather live. I think Salt Lake is a better city than Las Vegas is. No offense to anybody.
No, yeah, Vegas is kind of. I don't know
dirty.
unless you're into gambling. I don't know.
And it's a perfect city in that you can do literally whatever you want there, but also people there's like a healthy mix of crazy people on like both sides of the political spectrum. So it's like healthily balanced.
Yeah.
And you can also smoke weed there for legal reasons. And that's kind of cool. Like I respect Las Vegas as a city. I think I have a lot of nostalgia for it. I go back a lot because my family lives there. Some of my family lives there. So I like it there, but it's objectively not a great place to be.
Do you do stand-up comedy at all there in Vegas?
I've never done time there. No.
Really?
The only places I've done stand-up outside of Utah were at an open mic in New York and an open mic in Tempe, Arizona. And Tempe, Arizona is basically Las Vegas. So
what took you to New York with your comedy?
I just was visiting. I'd never been. So I was there for like a few days, like a year ago.
And you actually got on stage at an open mic?
Yeah. It was like all open mics. Most open mics are like 3 people. Just, I'm sure you guys know how it can be. And it's exactly the same there. And I felt reassured by that in a lot of ways.
You were just walking down the street one day and, oh, there's an open mic here.
I did some Googling. My grandmother was with me and she helped me find one. Actually, credit where credit is due. Grandma. I did like, not that much time, but there was no one there and it was like underwhelming in a lot of ways, but I liked that. Like I was very glad it wasn't scary or I didn't bomb or like,
That's so interesting because I've heard that people who want to go to open mics in bigger cities like in California and LA, you go and it's almost like you're lucky if you get up on stage because there's so many people.
Yeah.
And I would have thought New York would be about the same.
You're probably right. They're probably like here and like any scene, I assume there are different varying like types of open mics and varying audiences. And
like we have the coffee shop ones and then you have Wise Guys,
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
Like
Wise
the coffee
Guys-
shop ones are probably easy to get into and then Wise Guys is like if you're not there before
If you're not
6
there,
o'clock?
Yeah.
it's
deal with
5:30.
it.
Yeah.
5:30.
Wise Guys is an interesting incident because it's very like it's probably the best mic for hundreds of miles, and it's probably better than any mic in LA. I would say this is what I've heard. I've never done comedy in LA. I don't know anything, but this is what I've been told. And I hear that a lot. And like it's just there's always so many people there watching. Like it's
always
you
like
can't beat
packed.
That. Yeah,
at
it's
open
crazy,
mic, which is really nice.
Every week I'm like, who are these people? Like they're never the same people. It's so weird. I didn't even know that many people existed here.
But it's nice because honestly, are you like, okay, when I did comedy, I was less comfortable in front of, like at the coffee shop in front of just all the comics.
Yeah.
And I was way better at Wise Guys because it was always a packed house and it was just like in front of a crowd, it's faceless people.
The lights, you can't see anybody.
Yeah, you can't see anybody. You're completely blinded.
Yeah, I agree. And just adding that many people is like obviously a huge boost if you do well. Like it just ends up feeling so much better.
And if you bomb, how does that feel?
I think
have you ever bombed at Wise Guys?
Yeah.
Really? Because you are so good.
What is bombing though? Isn't bombing kind of in your own mindset?
That's when people don't laugh.
Don't know. I think it's when you tell a joke and people just go, oh.
Everybody has a different sense of humor though, and
that's
maybe
true.
you just don't have the same
That's
sense
true.
of humor in that crowd.
And that happens
true.
to me a lot. Like I have a lot of jokes that are kind of off-putting and like people, and that's fine. And that open mic is for working stuff out, of course. So like those two elements combined, it's like, yeah, I'm going to have some misses and it's not that big of a deal. I just learn and rewrite or, don't do it again or whatever I decide is best in the end. Bombing is like, I actually really like. I really kind of like it in some ways.
Really?
Because, yeah, I mean, there's that sort of part of me that likes to wallow in self-pity a lot, so that helps that part. And then the other part is like, the second show I ever did was at the University of Utah, and it was during this thing that they decided to call like a casino night. And there were like a lot of freshmen in college. I was a couple years into college at that point, didn't really want to be there. It was like an event where people were like doing fake gambling and, like it was like kind of offensive to me as a native Las Vegas person, honestly. I'm just kidding. But I did like 15 minutes and it was like the second show I'd ever done and no one was paying attention. No one even watched me. I was eating on stage. It was the most fun I've ever had. And I like,
what were you eating on stage?
They had fondue. So I was eating like
eating
marshmallows
fondue?
and yeah.
That's amazing.
It was
You're
a
playing
lot to
Chubby
deal with.
Bunny while you were telling jokes.
Kind of, yeah.
Nice. What got you into comedy? Like, how did you get started?
I grew up, I don't know, I grew up really into comedy TV. I guess like anybody else. And then I liked making films, so I would make videos. Like I put a video on YouTube when I was like 12, so it was like 2007. So I pretty early on in YouTube's history, and I was like very, very young, was just uploading videos of myself like talking. I lived on this like farm thing, so I would just like film me and these animals, and like I would just upload them to YouTube, and like I kept making videos, and they weren't really like, I wasn't getting any real audience. It was kind of like a couple hundred views at most, you know, here and there. There would be more, there would be less. And like, it ended up just, I ended up realizing that it would be a lot more productive to like actually go out and sort of make friends with comedy, and like try to make friends by way of doing comedy, and like kind of make people laugh at you directly.
Like connect with people.
Yeah. Well, it's just like, even if it's like 60 people, or not even, that's way too big a number. Even if it's like 10 people in a room laughing at your jokes, rather than like 200 just numbers kind of clicking up. To me, when I started doing stand-up, I was like sick of the numbers game and like not hearing the feedback. And like I wanted to do something more like punctual and like something that made a little more sense to me at the time, which was immediately receiving feedback. I like compare it to, like when I was in high school, I played in a band, and then after the band broke up, I just made music in my room and put it on the internet. And of course, the latter is like not as like immediately fulfilling as, not to knock the internet. Of course, it raised me, and I would like to thank it so much for that.
What kind of music? What band? What kind of band were you in?
Oh, it was like kind of garage punk indie. Like we basically like we just tried to be the Pixies, basically. But it was mostly my three friends. Like, I didn't know. I played like a couple instruments, and they just had me play those, and I just kind of was along for the ride. So, but after that, I kind of like tried to figure it out on my own, and it's kind of an ongoing process. So, but I haven't really performed music live since then.
What instruments?
Oh, the instruments. I played ukulele in that band. It was like basically rhythm guitar, but it was just a uke instead. And it's kind of a dumb, but they were like, do you want to do that? And I was like, I guess I'm down to be friends with you guys. And that's all I care about. So it ended up working out okay until it was no longer a thing. But then I learned more instruments. So because of that, and that's good. Because uke is very, I think, reserved for kind of 16-year-old girls.
Specifically
me, yeah. Yeah. But I like, it's a great little instrument. It's very nice for learning.
Do you miss playing music at all? Or do you still play music at all?
I play it by myself. I record stuff in my room, and I like put it on Bandcamp and just like dumb stuff. And I like putting music, like arranging it is really satisfying to me, sort of like in a mentally stimulating way. So I like doing that, but I haven't really gotten back to like performing it. And I think stand-up kind of replaced that maybe in my life, because it's a lot easier.
Sure.
So, well, maybe not, but in some ways it's a lot easier. And I don't know, music, I'd love to perform it again. Everything I write is like, I can't perform it on my own, and I don't want to ask people to help me, if that makes sense. But
yeah.
It's a lot. You have to have a lot of confidence to be like, hey, you play my parts that I wrote. Like, I don't like that.
And stand-up's nice because you don't have to deal with other people.
Exactly.
Like, you can
It's
just
the
get up and do your
loneliest
thing
art
when
form.
you want and where you want.
Yeah, because I grew up really liking like improv, like the improv scenes in like New York and LA. I would paid a lot of attention to those. I wanted to do improv. I did a little in high school, realized quickly that I'm not very good at it, and like I'd like to give it a go again one day. But stand up is honestly like just so much more direct, and like it's more my speed, I think, just my personality type and stuff like that. I'm not very giving in a comedic situation. Like I don't know how to do it. So
let's say people that are listening to the podcast right now have never come out to see you do stand-up. What would you consider yourself, a clean or dirty stand-up, or how would you
define your comedy now?
Yeah.
In 3 words.
3 words.
Just kidding. You can divide them as many words as you want.
I just talk forever. No, it's really actually quite difficult for me because I don't really know how.
Do you swear a lot?
Okay, yeah, I guess I do. I'm not clean per se. I have clean, like I have a certain amount of material that is clean.
Sure.
But I think it's, cause I've done like clean shows before, but it's also kind of psychologically dark in a way that like people don't it's not dirty, but it's not like
So you
fun.
wouldn't want to bring your kids.
I don't think that kids would find me particularly funny, and that's the only thing I care about is their enjoyment.
Sure.
The children of the country, but I don't know, our future, I think. But I don't know. It's a bit. It's hard to say because I feel like I have a lot of like jokes that are very absurdist and like end up being dark. Yeah, and I'm not. I feel like a little bit of an edgelord saying that, but that's not what I mean at all. But yeah, I'm not clean either though, so it's kind of in between there.
Like just right.
So there's actually a couple questions before I forget to ask them. And we have a I Am Salt Lake community Facebook group that we'll occasionally mention, that we'll have people on the podcast. There's a couple people that had some questions here. Jacob Nelson, we actually ran into him tonight, Chrissy. He was at the podcast
meetup.
Love Jacob Nelson. I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know you, Jacob Nelson. But
You love him though. Hey, so first of all, he said, "Is she the musician?" Which I guess you are. I don't know.
I guess I wouldn't be the musician.
Is there a female musician, stand-up comedy comedian?
I think I am the only person that fits in. There's only like 4 women, so
Numbers have gone down.
No, I'm just joking.
Oh,
I'm just
okay.
being flippant. No, I wouldn't want to strip any women of their like ability. That's rude. But so if any women are listening, it's not my fault. No, but I'm not. I don't consider myself like a musician either.
Yeah,
because I don't really know what I'm doing. But I do make music, and it is on the internet.
Maybe he's like a YouTube fan of yours. Anyway, yeah. So he has 3 questions. The first one is, who is your favorite comedian?
Okay. Does this mean, because I often don't like stand-up comedian. I don't know a lot about stand-up, honestly. So I always go for like general comedian. Is that kind of
sure?
I think that's
better?
fair. I mean, who inspires you, right?
However you interpret the question.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. I'm asking the Facebook post what it means. No, I think, I don't know if I have an all-time, like, it's hard to sum that up, but I think probably the most influential to me has probably been like Stephen Colbert and like his various people who've worked with him in the past. I don't know, Strangers with Candy. The show is like a huge inspiration to me comedically, and everything that he's ever done. So I'd probably say him just in terms of sheer magnitude of what I've pretty like consumed as a fan. But yeah.
What's your most embarrassing onstage moment?
Oh God.
Every time. Right?
Yeah, just talking, just saying anything that I say.
Going up and opening your mouth.
There is a U of U open mic that I sort of run now, I guess, because everybody else bailed. But I run this open mic, and basically every week it's sort of like an epiphany mic, and I always go up there and I'm just like, the thing about life, and like nobody's listening or cares, like, and I think that mic every week is probably my most embarrassing moment. Just explaining, like, I'm trying to be my own therapist instead of making jokes, and it's just like always a nightmare. But also one time I like tripped as I was walking up onto a stage at a Sandy Station, the old bar that used to be there, and I tripped up the stairs as I was walking onto the stage and ended up kind of running. I had to, like, the momentum just pushed me forward, and that was pretty embarrassing. It's pretty weird looking.
What motivates your material?
Probably like just like anxiety. Like I just don't know what, and it's kind of, I don't know. It's a weird question. It's like hard to sum that up, but I think that a lot of it is just like what I'm thinking about at the time, and like right now, I don't know. I'm like pretty young, I guess. There's like a lot of new things to me out there, so I'm like sort of learning about them. But I also what motivates me, I think, is also like, I like the idea of being able to like make fun of things with no consequence, and that's kind of nice. I guess satirizing things is pretty fun.
As a comedian, it seems like you can get away with that a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that really is like the safest
other
place to be able to just say the things that you want that are offensive.
Some of the stuff I'm just like, I cannot believe they're getting away with that.
Yeah.
Me too,
if you say that in real life, you're going to get in a fight.
Yeah,
most
for
of the
sure.
time.
And it's like stand-up is weird because a lot of people do use it to just like say whatever they're thinking about, and that's fine. But I mean, as long as it's funny, it's great. Whatever, that's fine. But it's also, I don't know. I try not to do that unless I'm like qualified to speak about it, I guess.
Yeah.
Open mic can get real weird real fast.
Oh yeah,
basically.
it's a surreal. Like I think every open mic is like another dimension. Like,
oh yeah.
Well, that kind of leads into the next question from Matt Gwynn. Another question in our I Am Salt Lake Community Facebook group, which I cannot urge. Everybody should be up in there.
Totally,
and
man.
Join our group. Anyway, Matt says He has a friend who has written some stand-up material, and she has been interested in pursuing a career in stand-up all of her adult life. And however, she's been a little nervous to take advantage of an open mic night. Do you have any advice regarding how she can overcome her fear of taking the next step? What can I do to support her? Man, this sounds like a letter to Dear Abby or something like
this
that.
This has always been my dream. Yeah, I was hoping it would be love or sex questions, but this is fine too. No, I think that generally this is like very personal advice from me, is like, just make sure the stuff that you're working on or like that you're thinking about material wise is like, imagine what the audience will laugh at. Think about exactly what points that they would be laughing at, and don't like, I don't know, definitely underestimate yourself, because the first time like everybody does open mic, they usually don't do well, and that's okay. And it's like good to, you have to learn and like sort of figure your material out as you go, and like you have to learn what audience is like. It's like definitely like, it's like making friends or like meeting new people or anything like that. You have to kind of see what it's like before you immediately succeed. So I think that as long as you like keep in mind that you're like trying to write funny stuff and stuff that isn't old, and like, I don't know, that seems very sincere coming from me, but I just think like you kind of just have to go for it if you want to do it. If you don't do it, then it's fine also. But
would you recommend maybe to jump right into a Wise Guys open mic first time, or maybe like you were even mentioning the U of U?
The U of U, and it is my open mic, so this is a little biased, but like it's a good place to
start?
Workshop.
Yeah.
And if usually, I mean, there's like never anyone there. So if you're like expecting like a huge like laughter, like movie scene sort of thing, like I was, you're not going to get it. But it's also a good place to workshop and a good place to get feedback. And it'd be a lot better if people showed up to it. So that's just another.
When is that? When is it?
It's Mondays at 6:30 at the U of U Union Theater, and I am the host. And we'll see how long it keeps going. I graduated a while ago, so I don't go there anymore, and I'm just wondering when they'll stop letting me use that room at night on Mondays. But
you just keep showing up, and
yeah. I had a friend who's a student, a fellow comic, kind of emailed the people that needed to be emailed, and it ended up working out. But I don't know how long he's going to go there, or it's all kind of up in the air. But that's neither here nor there, I guess. But I mean, Wise Guys is a great mic as well. I think that there's definitely more of a chance that more people will see you, and if you do bad, that's scary. I did pretty bad the first time I did Wise Guys, and that's because silence in a room that big of that many people can feel pretty bad your first time. That said, a lot of people do bad and come back all the time. So I feel like it's just really up to the person. It's kind of based on individual personality and like what you're okay with and all that.
I'd say, and I've never done open mic, and I know I've chatted about it on a podcast.
We're gonna do it one day.
But I say just do it. You just got to do it.
Sure, yeah.
Right. I mean, there's fear in everything. I mean, I've done, even doing a podcast, anything you do in life, there's fear. You just got to do it. Get out and do it.
Oh, it's spooky. Yeah, for sure. You have to just because I don't know, or not. Like, it depends on what you want, and like that's totally fine either way. Like, I respect because I didn't want to do stand up either. Like, I only started doing it because I don't even know, because I was like on Zoloft and I shouldn't have been. Like, I don't remember like why I started doing stand up. Like, it comes down to like what decision you make in that split moment, like whether you're going to show up or not. And it's not hard to do. You just show up and you talk. So it's really just.
So when you started, did you spend time writing your 3 minutes, or did you just go and get up on stage and talk?
No, I did not go up on stage. I'm a writer for sure. I like writing, and I wrote a lot of movies, like not movies, but like little videos growing up. So I was very into comedy writing as a thing, and stand up just seemed to be the most marketable way to go about it, or the most direct and easiest. So that's kind of why that happened, I think. But I don't know. It ends up being better if you write. I think I wrote probably like 6 jokes. They were all pretty short. About half of them worked. I didn't do them. The first open mic I did was at the University of Utah. There was like there were like a group of comics who hadn't heard my jokes before, so they laughed. It was fine. Wise Guys is a little different. You have to hit pretty hard. I don't know. It kind of depends on the comic, obviously, but it's a good mic to start though too, because of the audience and because you'll know if you're doing bad immediately. And that's all you need to know, is to like learn and like build on that and like get better, you know.
You mentioned you went to the U. What did you go to the University of Utah for? What did you graduate with?
I graduated with a degree in film.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you hope to get with that?
Good question. I don't really.
You don't even know yourself.
It was just fun.
Yeah, I like all aspects of it. I've always made videos and stuff. I'm not real technical. I don't know a lot about gear. I've shot on actual film like twice, so I don't really know much about it. But I like editing mostly. I'm really big on editing. It's really fun, and I think a lot of people hate that part of it, so that's kind of nice. But I got a job like a month after I graduated, not regarding my degree at all, and I'm kind of just settled into that job. So maybe, you know, one day I'll have some work in editing or film or something, but I don't know yet. So yeah, it was just fun to go to college for it. Basically. It's very easy. If anybody is listening who wants to go to college but doesn't think they can get through it, film is the degree for all dumbasses, and I would like to stamp that with my approval.
Just watch a lot of movies, huh?
You watch a lot of movies. Those are the harder classes too, the film history ones, because you're just writing papers, and a lot of the professors are like 1,000 years old, and they like know every film and they know everything about film, so they want to read good papers. That's the hardest bit. But if you take a lot of film production courses, they have to give you an A if you make a video. So it ends up working out quite well.
We actually need to take a quick break to play a message from our sponsor really quick, Amerah. So hang tight. We have more questions for you. We'll be right back. This episode of I Am Salt Lake podcast is proudly sponsored by Jed's Barber Shop. With 3 locations, you have no reason to not always look your best. Go get a haircut, a beard trim, or even a straight razor shave. Jed's Barber Shop is open 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Saturday, 9 to 7, and Sunday, 12 to 5. Their newest location is located at 167 East, 900 South, right next to Randy's Records. They also have a location downtown at 212 South, 700 East, and up in Sugar House at 2153 East, 2100 South. No appointment is necessary. Just show up, get yourself a haircut. Maybe you have a last-minute date or a job interview. Jed's Barbershop is the place for you. Head on over to their website at jedsbarbershop.com for more information. Actually, I meant to ask you, where do you see all this comedy taking you? Would you like to make a career of it, or are you just having fun?
I would love to do it for a career, but I think stand-up, I'm not sure, stand-up was never my intended goal. Like, I think a lot of people go into stand-up, they want to be like a famous like road dog comedian, or like they want to like become famous and like have specials. And like I don't really identify with that. I mean, maybe now more because I know that it's fun and like I like doing it, and having approval is nice, and stand-up is really popular right now. Like people love stand-up, so it's all kind of changing in my mind. But I think I initially started out, I wanted to be like a comedy writer and or work on a comedy show. I love editing, like I said before, and editing anything related to TV or like comedy TV or anything like that would be like the dream job, I think. Or like running a show, writing a show, anything like that would probably be my ideal
Like, is there a
goal.
show you would, like a dream show, right? Like, what would be your dream show?
Isn't that what YouTube's for? Make your own dream show.
right?
And that's, yeah, and since I was 12, keep throwing stuff on there. But
Do you have a YouTube channel?
Oh yeah.
Can we know it? Was it a secret?
It's youtube.com/AAA channel. Those are my initials, and I was 12 when I made it, so that is the name of it.
Your initials are Amerah
Alan Ames, yeah, middle name, weird middle name.
AAA. Well, that's
Triple A.
Yeah.
You are very reliable.
So what's on your channel then? I've never looked at it. Is there comedy on there?
Yeah, it's all like dumb little, like a lot of videos I made in high school are on there. A lot of, like, I deleted a lot too, but because I've been making videos again since like 2007, so a lot of it's gone. But recently I've uploaded pretty scarcely, but I've been trying to make more stuff. I have friends in Salt Lake who do comedy who ended up being really like facilitating film really well. Like they liked film and like liked doing movies. So I would end up helping them and they'd help me with my projects. And it ended up being like everything I really wanted out of comedy. Sure. So that's another great thing about stand-up is that, or maybe the great thing about stand-up is that like you meet all these like-minded people, and that was really cool. All huge narcissists though. If you're listening, I swear to God. Anyway,
self-loathing narcissists.
I'm just kidding. For sure. I'm just joking. But yeah, I don't know. That part is great. But yeah, I just make like weird comedy.
I'll have to check it out. I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. If you want.
I'll link it up at iamsaltlake.com with this show.
Appreciate
and
it.
since I cut you off, is there a dream show that you would choose to write for?
Not even like Saturday Night Live or something?
I mean, that would be... I like Saturday Night Live, I think, a bit more than most people do these days. And that's like probably the best gig.
Right?
Yeah, that's like the best gig. But I like writing, and I've always wanted to be a comedy writer, but sometimes when I look at my portfolio of writing, I'm like, this is not nearly as substantial as it needs to be. So I have a little like insecurity there, but I think editing is another thing that I love, and editing is honestly part of the narrative of comedy in such a huge way, and you see that in a lot of shows these days. But anyway, to actually answer your question, I just started talking about something else. I don't know, like I don't know if there's a dream show per se. I've watched, like when I was a teenager, and the reason I decided that I had confidence in comedy being cinematic and like being good was there was a show Community on NBC, and I loved that show when I was like 14, and like I still love it obviously, but it was just like I was growing with the show. It was like having a friend, but it's a show, we all participate in escapism, but it was like to the next level. And that show, like I watched like outtakes and listened to commentaries from it constantly, and I was like, that's what I want to do. So like I'm something like that, maybe like something where you can play it relatively safe but sneak in like stuff that's dark, like that's perfect, any show like that.
Have you seen Community, Chris?
Oh, yeah. I love Community. Have you guys followed it, though, since it got canceled and has become more of an internet show?
I haven't, no.
I haven't either.
Season
Have you?
6?
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched it.
How do you feel about it? Is it still as good?
Oh, it's really good, yeah. There was that season 4 where the main showrunner left, and then they came back. Seasons 5 and season 6, I think a lot of people don't watch those ones as much because of the departure of that showrunner, of Dan Harmon, but 5 and 6 are like honestly so good. They're such good seasons. And yeah, the Yahoo season's great. The last episode is like, it was weird because they swear in it. Like, you couldn't do that on NBC. They like say fuck, and like, I listened to it and I was just like, they're me. They grew up, and it's just like, anyway, I could talk about that show forever.
Didn't they do a podcast too? Isn't there a podcast of it or something like that? I swear. Anyway, it doesn't.
Probably. Yeah.
I mean, I love the first few seasons.
Sure,
how long can you really be in college for? That
the guy who created it, though, I heard did a podcast for it. He
has Harmontown, but I don't know.
Maybe that's it. Or is that not Community? I don't know.
I think he talks about Community a lot on it. I haven't listened to a whole lot of it either. I basically
then you're
just
not a real
fan. No, you're absolutely right. I haven't watched that much of Rick and Morty either, and that's like a huge deal right now. So.
I've never seen Rick and Morty.
Is that a spin-off of Community or something?
No, Rick and Morty
is
the
same, like dudes kind of. I don't think they have as... Like, Dan Harmon doesn't have as huge of a hand in it as, like, he did in Community, but I think
But I feel like such a douche for not having seen it. Like, if you haven't seen it, there's something wrong with you, because everybody references it all the time.
I don't think I've even seen one episode of Rick and Morty.
I'm
out of here.
not.
I'm done. I'm
well, I'm glad we're in the same company.
Podcast.
What do you think of Studio C? Can I go there?
Sure, I don't really have
as a comic. Like, I mean, have you ever watched it?
Not really.
That's the BYU deal, right?
It's like the BYU version of Saturday Night Live.
Why? Yeah, I mean, what is it? Why are we picking on Studio C?
No, I'm not picking on them. I'm genuinely curious how the comics, the local comics, feel about them. It's a space out here. They've actually grown really pretty good size.
Pretty popular, yeah.
And, do
they come to Wise Guys at all?
No, because of their...
It's pretty like
sketch comedy.
Yeah, it's just sketch comedy, right? I had an art teacher once that would talk about Studio C to me, and I'd just be like, yeah, like I didn't know what he was talking about really. Yeah, I've watched like a clip or here or in there, but like I don't really know much about it. But I mean, I'm mostly just very jealous of like their audience. BYU, they have a comedy club, stand-up comedy club at their school for students, and Humor U. And I mean, there's a lot of funny comics that are in Humor U, but like it's so insane how many like fans they have and stuff. Like, not that they're bad or anything. Like, it's not that at all. It's just like people enjoy stand-up. Like, I didn't know that. Like, at our club at the U, it's like we don't have anything. Like, nobody's there. Like, it's totally different. I think it's just it's like a generational thing. Like, our club hasn't been around for that long, but it's also, I'm just like, wow, Mormons love stand-up that is clean and nice. Good for them.
That's true.
You mentioned sketch comedy. What exactly is a sketch comic versus a stand-up comic? I know that sounds like probably a really
sketch
basic.
comedy is harder.
Well, what exactly is sketch comedy, though?
It's like you're making a show and you're an actor. And
sketch comedy is like a skit.
It's like
it's
more
like a
Saturday Night Live and stuff like that.
Saturday Night Live, Studio C.
Yeah, the state, anything like that.
Improv is improv technically sketch comedy?
I don't think
it's kind of its
same
own
thing, but I think a lot of people from sketch comedy come from the improv world. From what I've seen, especially in recent years, there's so many people pouring out of the improv like scenes in LA and New York that are going on TV and like doing sketch shows or whatever. And I have always liked that a lot. I feel like that's a minority opinion in like stand-up scenes probably. I have like pretty equal respect for both sides of it.
Very different groups of people
in many ways.
Would you ever think about kind of like going and trying out improv? I know you wanted to.
I want to be good at it so bad. It's so fun and like cool. And it's also cool to film improvisation. It's so much like a lot of my favorite shows were improv people just like kind of doing stuff and then they wrote it down. And that's like cool to me. I did a little bit of improv in high school and I just like wasn't very good at it. I'm just not very physically confident. And you kind of have to be, if I could, take a jackhammer to the part of my brain that like feels dignity, I would 100% do improv right after that. But maybe one day, but it's kind of scary.
You obviously went towards stand-up comedy. What's the thing that you've enjoyed the most about doing it?
Mostly just like making friends, honestly. I know it's pretty lame, but I also like getting ideas out there and like, I don't know, the two things I would say, making friends, and like I didn't have any friends before I did comedy. I had just moved here from, about an hour away. All my friends stayed up there from high school, and most of them. And then like I just ended up making every friend I have now virtually was because I did stand up, and that's definitely worth something. And then also, I think that it sharpened my ability to write a joke. I look at scripts I wrote like a sketch show pilot when I was like 16, and it's so bad. It's god awful. There's no jokes in it. It's so abstract. It's not funny. And like, I like abstract humor a lot. I love surrealism, but like, it's just so bad. And I'm so glad that I like started doing stand up basically on a whim and like basically learned how to write a joke.
Like you've totally fine-tuned your writing skills?
100%, yeah.
Yeah.
And stand-up, because like a lot of stand-ups talk shit on like improv because it's too abstract, and like I don't necessarily agree, but I see where they're coming from because of that.
What do you like least about doing stand-up comedy? You talked about most. There's got to be something over here that you don't
What's
like.
What's the worst thing ever?
Leaving the house. I like that. And that's like the worst.
I used to watch so much TV and just sit in my room, and it was the best. No, I don't anymore. No, I still do that. I don't really know if there's anything that bad about it. I mean, basically just feeling stagnant, like when you're not writing a lot of jokes, or like basically for me, it's like when I was 19, I was doing stand up and everyone was like, this 19-year-old girl is doing stand up. It's pretty wild. Like, and I don't know, people said they liked my comedy and that felt really good. And then there's sort of after like a year or two, you kind of like stop feeling it. So you kind of just head downhill with like attitude wise. And that's kind of the only part that's been bad, I guess, is just like my own brain telling me that time is passing. There's something wrong with that, I guess.
What are some of your other hobbies and interests? We talked comedy. What else do you like to do? You talked, I guess, films.
Yeah, I like making little movies. I like recording music, kind of like arranging it and stuff. That's fun. It's equally kind of just like weirdly just like fun to do, even though I'm not performing it yet. I don't know. I like reading the internet. Wikipedia is dope. I don't really know. Do I have other hobbies? I think mostly just those ones. I don't know. It's been a while since I've done other things. I like watching TV.
Favorite TV show? What's your favorite TV show?
Of all time, I would say Strangers with Candy, 1999 comedy show on Comedy Central. That or Community, I think, probably is.
Well, that's true. I guess Community, we were just talking about that, yeah.
I think Strangers is a little more like comedically up my alley, and Community is just very thoughtful and funny, and like it comforted me a lot as a teenager. But Strangers is probably all-time favorite. It's a good time television. It's always been there for me.
It's always been. If you could learn one random skill, what would you like to learn?
Probably like something like flying like a spaceship or something. Like, I don't know, some astronaut shit. I don't know. There's probably something out there that's like really cool. I mean, any random skill that's like pretty big scope.
Well, I'm not going to like give you that ability.
I think
here.
I
like,
would.
Oh, here's
I'm
a
taking it very seriously.
here's a pass for you, a card.
I want to learn how to fly a rocket ship into the moon. No,
okay,
I think
we have behind door number 1. We have a rocket master
with our huge funding.
Yeah.
Or I would learn how to like code or something. I don't know.
Not just knit or
So something science based, it sounds like.
Oh yeah, well, I have very little experience there. I think I would learn how to like retain information. That would be pretty useful. I would like major in like biology or something cool in college or something if I could. But one ear out the other.
Getting you into the film thing.
Just not there.
What's your most memorable concert or sporting event that you've been to?
Oh man, concert.
Do you make it to many concerts at all?
I've been to a lot of
I
shows.
don't know.
Yeah.
You look like a sports fanatic to me.
I like soccer.
That one year I went to go see the Jazz, I imagine you up there, yeah.
I like the Jazz because they're from here and because basketball is like soccer but in the air. But it's otherwise the same game, and that's the only sport I really like. So I feel like any sport that's kind of soccer I like as well. It's an ally to soccer. I think the most memorable concert I ever went to was the first concert I ever went to was a Weird Al concert, and that was one of the things that got me really interested in the comedy world, especially like the LA like improv scene, and that was like planting a seed in my young brain, I think. So that would probably be the most memorable.
How old were you when you went there?
I was 12. He played the Utah State Fair in 2007.
Oh, yes,
so.
I remember that.
Did you go to that?
No, but I remember.
I've never seen Weird Al.
I saw Weird Al in Pennsylvania.
Damn it. I need to see Weird Al.
With his,
where at?
Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania.
He always plays weird towns.
Yeah, well, that's where I was living at the time. Are you from Pennsylvania or something?
No.
Oh.
Sorry, I just know a lot about Weird Al's touring habits.
Yeah, no. Well, he did like the costume changes.
Yeah. It's a
all
big
of that.
show.
Like, oh my gosh, it was like, and I wasn't even a big Weird Al fan at the time. I just got free tickets,
Right? Yeah.
to go.
Kind of same. Yeah.
But he puts, oh my
At the
gosh.
time.
I was a
ever
Weird Al
have a
fan,
chance-
and I haven't had a
Actually,
chance to
speaking
see
of
it.
Weird Al, I heard he's going to be playing St. George.
I know, and I'm very. He's
Coming
playing this
up.
tour. He's
Road
playing this special
trip.
tour that's like original. And I'm a really big Weird Al fan to the point where I can't even explain like how big a part that's had in my life. I was on a Weird Al forum when I was 12. It only went downhill from there. He's playing this. He's doing this tour where it's only like. Mostly originals, he said, not a lot of parodies. He's doing like rarities and like stuff people haven't seen live, and he's not doing costume changes. It's just his band, and his band is so good. They're very talented. So like this is like a tour, and then Emo Phillips is opening for him.
Yes, Emo
My
Phillips
first
from
favorite
UHF.
stand-up. Yeah.
I was going to say.
the teacher that
I feel
lost his
like-
finger.
Yeah.
I feel like we need to get together and have a UHF night. I'll make
I
some
love UHF
popcorn.
Yeah,
nights.
UHF is amazing.
It is.
Had many a UHF
best.
night. Yeah, Emo Phillips is like probably the first stand-up I ever liked, besides me watching Seinfeld and like liking the show particularly. But he was the first like stand-up comedian I really liked, and basically this tour is made for me. And they don't even come to Salt Lake. They've been here like a few times.
When is it in St. George? Do you know the date in St. George?
I think the tour's in like May of next year.
Okay.
I'm gonna go to the one in Grand Junction, Colorado. If anyone wants to meet me there, hit me up.
Well, yeah, Colorado.
On May 3rd.
No serial killers.
Colorado will be
Only
a much
serial
better
killers,
state
please.
because of marijuana there.
You could go to the Weird Al show, blazed as hell, man. I don't plan on doing that necessarily, but it's a possibility. It is technically, it's like slightly closer than the St. George one.
Is it?
And very slightly. And then the theater is smaller, and that's like something that I value for some reason. So I was like,
intimate.
Yeah. Because, I mean, in a 1,000 person room versus a 5,000 person room, it's just like a little more.
You might get to touch Weird Al.
Yeah, I've met him a few times, but yeah.
Like hung out with
met
him.
Weird Al.
You've eaten mashed potatoes with him.
I wish. I love mashed potatoes. No, I've met him a few times. It's like pretty briefly. I met him, I think the first time I met him I was like 15, and then I think the last time I met him in real life, I think I was around 20. So it's been a couple of years since I've seen him in person.
Yeah, you know me too. I used to talk to him all the time. It's been a little while.
This is just the honest truth. I don't
Wait,
find
you didn't have his AOL name? That wasn't Weird Al?
I might, but that was just me being creepy.
Was he on the forum? Is that how you met him? Was
He actually is, but
Is he really?
Supposedly, yeah, or was.
It's just some guy that says he's Weird Al. Yeah! Convinced another sucker.
Oh, man. People have theories. There's so many theories. I think he does have like a registered user on that site, but I don't know what it is. I can't remember off the top of my head anymore.
What site is it? Like weirdal.com?
Yeah, it's called weirdalforum.com, and it is where I grew up. I don't go on there anymore, but it's still popping. I think it's still there. I know I have a few friends that I still have from the forum and like have talked to.
Organize polka parties in Hawaiian shirts.
Kind of,
like
yeah,
trades
honestly.
And
that is a thing.
Wow.
So it sounds like your parents were like really there for you growing up, and you had a lot of human interaction. Really helped you develop into a strong character and not need comedy as a fallback for your emotional problems.
Yeah, that's nail on the head. I don't even need therapy now. Yeah, I spent a lot of time on the internet.
Did Weird Al do stand-up comedy at all? Has he ever done any? He should.
Not that I know of.
I think he does. He's
he
ever really done stand-up.
He would be a brilliant stand-up.
He's a funny guy.
Yeah, I mean, come on, UHF. I mean, because he wrote UHF, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean,
he
the brain behind that.
Manager.
Yeah, he's a genius for sure.
It's he's very funny, and like that. Honestly, like I grew up loving his music. Like thought parodies were funny. Got into the original, started like appreciating the craft, if you will. But then what really got me interested was his like Al TV specials on MTV and like Canada's Much Music Network. Like there were all these clips online of these shows, and like that show, and UHF, like all the film stuff he's done. Like I loved when I was a young teen, so it kind of shaped my honestly my first YouTube videos are probably total rip-offs of everything that Weird Al's ever done, just in terms of like attitude. It's very hard to explain, but
let's shift to Salt Lake City now. I have a couple Salt Lake City questions I ask everybody on the show.
Nice.
If somebody was visiting, say they're coming this weekend to Salt Lake City, Utah, what would you tell them to do or check out? They've never been here before. Is there like a building or an area of town or something?
A lot of buildings here.
I don't know, but touristy stuff, I guess.
No, yeah. I've shown people like the normal stuff, like the temple and stuff. I think over by my house, there's this pyramid, the Summum Pyramid. It's like a big golden pyramid, and I live sort of close to it, so I maybe would show them that, because it's like I like the like weird Salt Lake stuff. There's like a bunch of weird stuff here, and that's one of the things they cremate. Or not cremate. They mummify animals. You can pay them to mummify your pet or people. They take people too, but it costs like $100,000 or something. But I've walked over there and looked at the pyramid sometimes. So
to look into mummifying Charles.
Yeah.
I've thought about it. I've thought about like I don't have a pet, but if I ever got
just
one,
to mummify it, they're pretty cheap over at the shelters.
They're honestly free. Yeah, like if you really want them to be free, they are. The mummification process, I think that's about $50,000 for animals, though.
Just all of a sudden became the most expensive animal in the world.
If I really loved it,
you could probably pay a really good friend to just like do something with it.
I could mummify it myself. I read books about mummies.
Put in a food dehydrator, right?
What do you have to do? Take all the guts out and put like hydrochloride stuff in their bodies? I don't know. How hard could it be?
Let's. What about favorite local eating spots? Do you have any places you like to eat at? Stuff your face at?
My first hangout in Salt Lake was the Del Taco on 8th East and 4th South. That's my favorite place to go. No, that's a place. I live right next door to the Vertical Diner. I like that place because I can walk over there.
They got good food.
Yeah, and I haven't eaten meat in like 9 years, so I go over there a lot, and it's literally connected to my house, so it's like
You're a vegetarian.
walk.
How do we skip over that whole thing?
It's not.
Is it something that big to talk about?
Well,
like
I really like a good steak.
They're not freaks.
They're not freaks, but
we are.
You haven't had steak in 9 years.
No, but
I didn't have my first steak until I was like 24.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So weird.
The last meat I ever ate was steak, if that makes you feel better.
That does make me feel better.
I didn't grow up eating steak.
Me neither until I moved here, honestly, but it's kind of like a...
So Vertical Dine. What about any other vegetarian places you like in town?
Bud's is really good. I really like, I don't know, I'm pretty easy to please in terms of food. Like, I'm just like, anything is fine as long as it has salt on it, basically. There's a lot of cool places.
Let's run down the list. I mean, how can you don't have a website or anything, do you? Or
it doesn't work very well.
I didn't know. Or is there any, like, how can people, like, say they want to learn more about you as a comedian, or they want to learn more about anything you've talked about? Is there like anything online that you'd want to tell them to go check out or to connect with you?
Okay, yeah. I don't have very much. I mean, I have like a Twitter account that's like Amerah. That's how the username. And then I have my YouTube channel, which I mentioned before, is /AAA channel. And then I have music on Spotify and like Bandcamp and iTunes, whatever people use to listen to music these days. I don't really know, but it's up there. And that's just, if you look up my name, it comes up basically.
So you are the musician.
I'm the musician.
Yeah. So but you have music on Spotify.
Yeah, it's.
I can't even get this podcast on Spotify.
Podcasts are hard on Spotify. I can't find them on Spotify.
Yeah.
I looked them up and they don't come up.
Yeah.
Everybody's on, like, every ad on a podcast is like, we're on Spotify now. And I'm like, I don't think
I know.
are.
And everybody's like, is I Am Salt Lake on Spotify? And I'm like, yeah, I've been trying to get it on Spotify.
They actually like fired the head guy in charge of podcasts on Spotify, but that's a whole other
that's
thing.
Why you can't find it.
Yeah.
Well, because I know the process for music is you pay a distributor about $30 and they put it on the internet. So, like, is it more complicated for podcasts since it's ongoing?
Yeah, you have to submit to a thing, and they only let like the really hot, popular shows in. And obviously, I Am Salt Lake's like, oh, I Am Salt Lake. Who wants that one? No, but honestly, I don't really care. I mean, as long as people, it's on the other outlets, iTunes. But I think it would be cool. Whoever creates that like all-in-one app, music and podcasts, I think would be brilliant. Even video, I think would be great to have all of it in one.
I think I saw a video on Spotify once, but I might have made it up or something.
That was an ad.
Yeah, it was. If you watch the short ad, then you don't have to listen to any ads.
Oh, where's that premium money going? No, I like don't. You're probably right. I feel like they like integrate, like, because I remember like on iTunes they integrated videos. You could buy a video, and that was like really strange back in the day. Good times, but yeah, that would. I mean, I feel like they've got a hold on the music market. That's the only reason I decided to put it up there. Really, I didn't really use Spotify that much.
I'll check it out. Thank you so much. Anything more you want to talk about before we let you go? Or
I'm running for president in 2032. Join me. Just kidding. Bye.
Awesome. Anything else you want to ask her, Chrissy?
Nope, but I'll vote for you.
Thank you so much, Amerah. I'm so excited to finally get you on the podcast.
Thank you.
Finally get you on the alumni of interviews of all the other comedians. Thank you so much. We'll end it there. And like I always tell people, we'll catch up down the road.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, you guys.
All right. Many thanks again goes out to Amerah Ames for coming on this episode. Make sure to connect with her and let her know you heard her on the podcast. Make sure to check her out next time she does some stand-up comedy.
Yeah, if you haven't been to see her at Wise Guys, go see her.
And it sounds like she pretty much goes to every open mic at Wise Guys on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And so when is open mic, like if the public wants to go see it, Chrissy, you can go at 7 o'clock?
Wednesdays at 7 o'clock. But beware, if you're just going for the entertainment value, open mic is definitely a little bit rougher.
But it's $5 and it's like 2 or 3 hours.
It's cheap and it's fun.
Yeah, it's a great cheap date. If you're looking for something to do on a Wednesday, you got yourself a Tinder date and you don't know what to do with them, take them down to Wise Guys at the Gateway.
Sometimes some crazy people wander up on stage. You can have a really entertaining evening.
Yeah. I mean, see some stand-up comedy. Maybe you can get up and impress your date by doing some stand-up comedy. and then they'll never talk to you again.
Pretty much. That's how that usually goes, yeah.
But all the links to connect with Amerah Ames are going to be at iamsaltlake.com/303 for episode 303. We'll put the links there, Facebook and whatnot, and her website. That way you can connect with her. And while you're on the website, dig through the back catalog. I mean, Chrissy and I have been chatting with a ton of people here in Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
And these episodes, if they're not listened to, they go, I mean, what's the point of doing all of this?
I know. You could meet so many people virtually.
Yeah.
On the website.
We are so, we live in an amazing city, and we are so lucky to be surrounded by so many amazing people and so many people that we don't have the opportunity to find out their stories.
Yeah.
Hey, that's what the I Am Salt Lake podcast is all about. Hey, I want to wish a happy birthday. One of our Patreon supporters, Alex Santee, had a birthday this last week.
Happy birthday, Alex.
Yeah, happy birthday, buddy. You know, thank you so much for being brought into this world and being a supporter of I Am Salt Lake podcast.
Thank your mom.
Yeah, hey, Mom. Thank you. Anyway, happy birthday, Alex. Hey, don't forget, we need your Q&A questions for an upcoming episode of the podcast. We mentioned it at the beginning of the podcast. Any questions? We love the random questions. We love the not random questions. Again, you can email any questions to hello@iamsaltlake.com. Hey, you've heard me mention them. You've heard me praise them. Let's talk about Jed's Barbershop. They are a very proud sponsor of this podcast. They have 3 locations, so wherever you are, you can go get yourself a haircut, look top notch. They offer haircuts, beard trims, even straight razor shaves. They're open 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.
That's going to be really helpful this holiday season.
Yeah, Saturday, 9 to 7, Sunday, 12 to 5. So you got every day of the week, Chrissy.
Yeah.
You can go in, get yourself a haircut every day if you want.
No excuses, guys. Every day.
And you get yourself a soda, too. That's what's awesome about them. Their newest location, that third location I was talking about, they're located at 167 East, 900 South, right next to Randy's Records. They also have a location downtown, 212 South, 700 East, and up in Sugar House, 2153 East, 2100 South. No appointments necessary. Just show up, get a haircut, and you're going to look really good with the holidays around the corner, going to Grandma's house. That way Grandma gets off your back and says, Johnny, when are you going to cut your hair? Hey, jedsbarbershop.com is their website. Go check it out. You're going to love these guys. Hey, but listen up. Next week, we have a really cool episode. Lisa from over at Tinker's Cat Cafe is going to join us. You're going to want to make sure you tune in.
Yes. I mean, who doesn't want to talk about cats and coffee?
Absolutely. They have been the talk of the town here in Salt Lake City. We had the opportunity to sit down with Lisa, like I said, over at Tinker's Cat Cafe. That's going to be on next week's episode. So make sure to subscribe to the podcast. We're in all the podcast outlets, but you can go to iamsaltlake.com to find out how to subscribe. You guys all have a great week. Get out and enjoy the city.
And good night, Grammy.